Heather McDonald has got the juiciest scoop. When you're on the road, when you're on the go, Juicy Scoop is the show to know. She talks Hollywood tales, her real life Mr. Segment serial data and serial sister. You'll be addicted and addicted fast to the #1 tabloid real life podcast. Listen in, listen up. Woo woo. Heather McDonald, Juicy Scoop.
Hello and welcome to Juicy Scoop. Well, we've got a lot to cover. Lots of crazy stuff happened this weekend in the pop culture Bravo world, as well as my life and my neighborhood, and it's all good. But first, I'm going to remind you one more time, because we are probably going to be able to announce that my Vegas show, my live Juicy Scoop with Brandy and Julie, is going to probably be sold out in just the next day or so. There are still some tickets, some solo tickets, some tickets together. You can absolutely go to this show by yourself. What is great about the Juicy Scoop community is that they are lovely, they are smart, they are funny, they are cool, they are inviting. So if for some reason you want to go and someone in your group doesn't, go. And I say that for all the BravoCon stuff, truly, that's what makes it so fun, is that we're all into this. So there's that. You go to heathermcdonald.net, and that's where you also join my Patreon. Okay, let's get into the juice. Now, if you don't know, I recently moved to an area, Westlake. It's called Westlake Thousand Oaks. It's just outside of LA County, in between LA County and Santa Barbara, to give you a reference. So Meghan Markle, who I'll get into later, lives further towards Santa Barbara. Okay, and it's very suburbia, and it's very nice, and I love it. Britney Spears has lived there for quite a while. And on Friday night, a patron at the restaurant called RHOP, which is a very good restaurant. I've been there. I was just there Thursday with a friend. Of course, I missed it by one day. Britney was there. Someone filmed her from the bar as she walked into the ladies' room with a girlfriend. She was casually dressed in her signature style, winter hat and boots, summer top and shorts. Actually, she had flats on, so she was not wearing boots this time, but she's wearing a felt fedora. And then this same person or another person witnessed her getting in her car and leaving the restaurant and driving. And they followed her and they showed her from the driver's side at a stop sign, and then showed her severely swerving up this road that I need to take to get to where I live, and she needs to get to get where she lives. And then apparently that witness also told the Daily Mail and TMZ and everything that then when she got to her place, she and her friend, who they don't know who it is, a female friend, they couldn't figure out the gate code. But really what was disturbing is her driving. And she absolutely should not have been driving, whether she was drinking at the RHOP or not. She's a horrible driver. And it kind of reminded me of when the paparazzi would follow her. But now it's just one person that was just happened to be at the same restaurant that has a TikTok account or whatever. And you can't blame them. I mean, it's pretty juicy. So nothing's happened because a cop would have to have arrested her at that time for swerving and giving her a DUI. So she is fine living in her house. She posted another video of her, again, her signature style, felt hat, suede boots, and a one-piece bathing suit. I sometimes say bathing suit. Okay. And she writes this long thing. No, this isn't old. This is recent. Because a lot of people think these videos are older, because then when they see her in someone else's video, she doesn't really look the same. But anyway, she's dancing around and there's a lot of crap in the back. And she's like, I'm packing for a trip. I'm going for, and the whole thing just doesn't seem real. The final thing that she just posted that Page Six picked up is a photo of the person, or Page Six put it together, of her at the stop sign in the driver's seat with the felt fedora. And she says that this is not her. This is these people who are body doubles. I mean, come on, and it's kind of crazy because, listen, I went down the rabbit hole like many of us do when things happen in the world. And with TikTok and Instagram, there are a lot of people that spend a lot of time putting videos together that can convince you, when they take this little bit of film and this little bit, that maybe, oh my God, did Britney Spears even get married? Was that a body double? Is this really her Instagram? Who's running it? What's going on? I now can say a few years later, after interviewing Sam and meeting her in person, she is still Britney Spears. So all that stuff from the past was not true. She did really have a wedding. All those people, Selena, Paris, Kathy Hilton, Madonna, all those people really did go to the wedding and were really there. That is my opinion. But there were so many interesting conspiracy theories about it. So I get why people then go down other rabbit holes with it. But so this is her. This was not some body double at the Retto who then got in her exact same car and then drove right to her house and was not her. So it's interesting that now she's saying like it is a body double. So yeah, she's not enjoying that K-Fed, her ex-husband and father of her sons, is doing the rounds and selling his book, which seems to be doing well. He shared a video of mine saying like he has every right to tell his story. However, not heard back from him for coming on Juicy Scoop. He's gone on a couple other popular podcasts, of course, men. Maybe he's just more interested and more comfortable being interviewed by a man, or maybe he's afraid of me. I don't know, whatever. He's still welcome to come. But that was some interesting news. Also, there is a very funny X account called Yolanda Fister. Obviously a Bravo type account. Looks like there's a cute kid behind it, a man, who said about my friend Jill Zarin, oh my God, that surgeon put his foot on the back of Jill Zarin's neck and yanked her so hard, she became Heather McDonald. And this is getting a lot of traction, and multiple people sent it to me. Brandon and Julie sent it to me. I love Jill. We are very good friends. She has been open about that she had a facelift. I think she looks great. Drake does not think that she looks like me in this photo, but so what? Thanks for mentioning me. Who knows if this was a different filter or what, but it's like, yeah, what in the Kris Jenner is happening to a lot of people? A lot of people's faces are changing. And if they end up looking like me, welcome to Jigsaw world. Okay. And very funny. Okay. I want to get into, you guys know I talked about how there is, for the first time ever, a Golden Globe podcast category. And some people when this came out said this is just a money grab. And people didn't really understand what that meant. Now, Page Six did a big, long article really explaining what it means. So throughout the years of Golden Globes and Academy Awards, but especially Golden Globes, you would see for your consideration, and they'd put ads in Variety and Hollywood Reporter, and we'd put up billboards. And then you'd be like, how is this movie nominated for 15 things that not one person I know have seen? And then you'd find out that the budget was, $10 million to do the movie and the marketing was $50 million. And that's all because of these campaigns to win the awards, but to get eyes on it. So then the movie might have a longevity in the post world of whatever. It's a classic because it won all these Academy Awards. So it's one way people go. They don't count on it being a big hit at the time, especially now. So with the podcast, that's what people were wondering about. So they said these are the 25 eligible podcasts. Of those 25, we will pick 10. And of the 10, those will be the nominees, and then one will win it. And they were a lot of the really big names: Smartless, Dax Shepard, Armchair Expert, all that. So this is how I'm going to explain it. This is according to Page Six. For $5,000, wannabe nominees can upload their projects to the Golden Globe screening platform, the Ankler reported. So, and then the wannabe podcast nominees have been approached by Variety now to pay $25,000 to become a supporting partner at its podcasting FYC Fest, which gets you Golden Globe hopeful on a Variety panel, as well as Variety coverage, social posts, and full page color ad, and its FYC Fest preview out November 11th. They also say for $35,000, that gets you a potential podcast nominee, a custom 15-minute Variety moderated conversation about your podcast. Or if you want to pay $75,000, Variety Creative Impact Award in podcasting, that'll get you a Variety feature. So the point is, honestly, for people who have money, this isn't a bad way to spend your money. I would assume it would be a write-off to promote your podcast. I mean, but unfortunately, it's not everyone could do it because every single housewife on Bravo or just the housewife down the streets that's starting her podcast whose husband, like, I feel like a lot of like women now are just having like podcast talk shows. It's kind of like what the women did and where their rich husband would support like a boutique or a candle shop or whatever. Now they're like, well, I'll just have a show, whatever, like Heather McDonald or Juicy Scoop, which is fine. Go for it. If you could spend $35,000 and you're like a new podcaster and you get that kind of publicity in your eyes, that's a pretty great deal. I don't know if you have to be part of the eligible group. According to this, Theo Vaughn is like, I don't want to do any of that. I don't want to be part of this. I don't want to be seen as someone who's like vying to get this podcasting award. Some of the podcasts are quite political that are in there. So it's all of that. I'm curious to know what will happen. But I think most people that are just sitting back are probably like, who cares? I like the show that I like. But maybe people that have never gotten into podcasting, this might go, well, these are the ones I'm going to start listening to. So it could be good for that. We'll see. Okay. So, I also want to talk about, this was kind of funny. So with Dax and Kristen, getting back to her post. So, she did the thing to my husband, happy 12th anniversary. Thanks for never killing me, that whole shtick. She has never taken it down and she's never apologized for it. And according to her friends, Page Six reporting, they're saying that she doesn't care and she is not going to apologize for who she is. That's the route she's taking. She's not going to address it. She's not going to take it down. And some of her friends were like, God, I wish she would, because her mouth really gets her in trouble. I think this is like a fake article. I do think this is the way to go with these things from now on, is just maybe to not address them if it's just a dumb joke that didn't land and you're promoting your show. Nobody wants this second season on Netflix, which I have not watched, but I did see some very funny things about how much advertising is in the script writing of this show, which we may see more and more, but apparently it's very obvious to people that are watching it, where the characters are saying like big, long explanations of the product instead of like, can you hand me that coffee? It's like, can you hand me the Dunkin' Donuts caramel latte that's on special today and only during the holiday? It's like, whatever. I don't know if that's true, but I thought that was funny. And I think it's funny that people catch on to it. But getting back to her post about her husband not killing her. The good news is, if she ever did kind of wonder if her husband would kill her, Dax Shepard, now he definitely won't. How do we know that's why? Maybe that is why she put it out there as insurance. Maybe that's why she's not taking it down or saying it was a joke. Maybe there's some real shit going on and she's like, just in case, this isn't going to look good if you ever really did get mad at me. There's no way you're getting out of it now, because this will end like Heather McDonald wants. I will have my really good Dateline episode with my video. Oh, a Juicy Scooper made me a lovely Dateline montage of my opening for When I Go Missing. I'll be sharing that on my Instagram at Heather McDonald, because it's very clever. So yeah, that's the good news. If they ever got pissed at if he ever got to the point of it, he's certainly not going to do it now. But I guess they've shared in their life and on their podcast a lot about how they have really wicked fights, to the point where she said she blacked out, and people said they interpreted that as that just her mind, it was just like, oh, like so much arguing, not like he, put his hands on her and she blacked out, just like fighting so bad that she blacked out. And people do like the honesty when you've been married that long. It's very few people that, have a perfect relationship and don't argue. But then also there's this something I feel in Hollywood where it's like, it's kind of your identity that you're like this couple that, has been lasting longer than others. And so I think it's all of that. Speaking of my past loves, there's a follow-up. You recall I was on Thursday's show. I talked about how I was on a show called Studs, and I went on a date with this guy and we won. It was a game show. And his name was Ronnie Sugar. And I'm like, where is he today? Well, many of you found him for me, and he's still cute, very successful, and he owns Raw Sugar, which is a product I buy at Target. It's like shampoos, conditioners, and also has put all this money into this other city. So good for him. Like, good for him. And I also want to say I had another date that turned out to be extremely successful. I went out with this guy, and then years later, when I was at the early years of Chelsea lately, he was on Million Dollar Matchmaker. And I was like watching it with Peter, and I'm like, why does this guy's face like look familiar? Like, what is it? And then I realized I went out with him, and at the time he was like telling me he was getting into the vitamin business. And then on Million Dollar Bed, I was thinking, yeah, like this guy's ever going to really have any money. And then I'm watching Million Dollar Matchmaker, and there he is as the millionaire with like some big vitamin company. And I was like, oh, okay. There's been times where my picker has been off. I also went out to audition to be one of the hosts of American Idol when it was Ryan Seacrest and this other comedian whose name I can't remember. But then when they just narrowed it down, but after like 1 or 2 years, they just made it Ryan. And then that comedian like never really got anything going besides probably just being a stand-up. Anyway, I went to that audition and I was like, what's this show about? And it was at Laugh Factory. And they're like, some of the people are going to be great and some are not. And you're going to be talking and encouraging them. So we're going to do like an improv, and we want to get like a guy and a girl. And Ryan Seacrest, I think Ryan Seacrest had already been chosen. So you were going to be his partner. And I remember thinking, this is the stupidest idea for a show. This is never going to last. So yeah, I'm not always right about my predictions. I think they've gotten better now, but I'm not always right about it. Anyway, so there you go. Meghan Markle, went down a rabbit hole of this guy analyzing her body language. And I always think that's kind of interesting, and I don't really know if I totally believe it. But she was doing a bunch of interviews, and some people felt in the body language it was lying, other people it's deflecting. It could just be really good media training that she trained herself. And they asked about As Ever third season. And she's like, oh, well, there's so many different aspects to look at the business. With As Ever, it started out with a wonderful, delightful, charming jam. And there was such an incredible response. We sold out immediately, which is not easy and also makes it quite difficult. But what I've discovered is my learns. And in learns, I've realized that in the learns that I've had, people need to want something to touch that's tactical. Maybe she does like a lot of swallowing, and maybe there's a possibility of having a partnership. And I would rather that it be in small retail spaces that make sense. And so basically people are like, yeah, Target, Walmart are not asking you to have a deal because no one in their right mind would turn down a bigger thing like that, and the jam is $18. I don't know anybody who's gotten it. I don't know if they're really making more or if it matters. I heard it wasn't even made in Montecito or California. I don't know what's true, and I don't care to whatever. So the show, which is second season, which we realized was filmed all in one chunk of time and split in half, Selling Sunset does that. A lot of shows have done that. Economically, that makes sense. So she said, well, we're doing a holiday special because, as you know, I taught gift wrapping and I do calligraphy and da-da-da-da. And she's always talking about, and when people come over, don't say, hi, can I make you a cup of tea? Work it out that you just have a bunch of coffee cups there that they can pour their own tea. You know what? It's about making life simpler for you and even though you look lovely, open the door with your apron on and not wearing any shoes, right? And that shows that you are welcoming into your... I don't think she has anyone come to her house at all. I don't think she's having dinner parties. I don't think people are coming over to her house. unless it's the fake house down the road and filming the show, which is fine. Okay. Because these tips are like the dumbest things I've ever heard. Anyway, I think then she says, in going forward with the TV show as ever, we might explore doing recipes that might only take 2 or 3 minutes. And what would that look like? Well, that looks like Instagram. That looks like a TikTok video. You have 4 million Instagram followers. Your Instagram is doing well. That is it. You are going to be like the rest of us. You're going to be just getting little deals, never turning down anything. And that's what you wanted. You wanted to be a Kardashian. That's what you're going to be. And you thought it was going to do better with the Netflix and the podcasting deals and all that. They realize they're not getting their money. And then they say, you have a first look deal. Let me explain what a first look deal is. It sounds better than it is. It's basically what you tell the person, hey, whatever show idea you have to pitch it to us first. Don't you go around, Missy, to Bravo or anywhere else because we think you're so talented. You have to pitch it to us first. And then that looks good. It looks like you're constantly producing and that you're beholden to this network because they think you're so talented. But the thing is, they can say no to every single one. And then they're like, isn't this great? If we say no, you're not tied to us because they want you to go away. And then you can sell it to someone else. And that's what she was also saying. Like, and then we'll see, what other projects and creative venues and what that home may look like, which could be different. And then of course, there's the global aspect of the products and the brands and what do you want to see in your home from us when we are so lucky that you've invited us in your. So listen, I watched a little video of her going to New York with the husband. It looked like every other cute millennial couple that the wife's an influencer and the guy's cute enough to play along. That's it. I don't think anyone's going to really care. And I do predict that at one point, Harry and William will reestablish some type of relationship outside of the wives, just like something. That's what I think. But this is it, you guys. Just get ready for the Instagrams and the TikToks because the show is going to end. Everyone's talking about having that effortless, glowy skin look. Well, not many can achieve it, but you can now with Jones Road Beauty. I absolutely love their beauty balm. You don't need brushes. You don't need a sponge. You use your fingers and it absolutely just gives you this glowy, healthy look. I do it when I'm going around my club or for a walk, pickleball, just to have a little something more going on when I don't need a full face of makeup. And actually people are like, what are you doing to your skin? What is this? Is it microneedling? Is it that? No, it gives you this natural, great glow. Every formula is packed with skin-loving ingredients, so it's actually good for your skin. It nourishes your skin instead of clogging or caking it like regular makeup, and it just really feels natural. It feels like you're not wearing any makeup at all. Modern-day makeup that's clean, strategic, and multifunctional for effortless routines. For a limited time, our Juicy Scoop listeners are getting a free cool gloss on their first purchase when they use code Juicy Scoop at checkout. Just head to jonesroadbeauty.com and use code Juicy Scoop at checkout. After you purchase, they will ask you where you heard about them. Please support Juicy Scoop and tell them that Heather McDonald sent you. Hey, are you dealing with hair issues? I'm talking thinning or shedding, but feel like there's just no way to fix it. Well, there are just too many products out there that tell you that they can. Well, let me tell you the one that actually delivers, and it's Nutrafol. Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist recommended hair growth supplement brand trusted by over 1.5 million people. You can feel good about what you're putting into your body since Nutrafol hair growth supplements are backed by peer-reviewed studies and NSF content certified, the gold standard in third-party certification for supplements. Adding Nutrafol into your daily routine is simple. Purchase online, no prescription required, Automated deliveries and free shipping keep you on track. Plus, with a Nutrafol subscription, you can save up to 20%. See thicker, stronger, faster growing hair with less shedding in just 3 to 6 months with Nutrafol. For a limited time, Nutrafol is offering our Juicy Scoop listeners $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping when you go to Nutrafol.com and enter the promo code Juicy Scoop. Find out why Nutrafol is the best-selling hair growth supplement brand at Nutrafol.com, spelled Nutrafol.com, promo code Juicy Scoop. That's Nutrafol.com, promo code Juicy Scoop. All right, you guys, pop star Katy Perry is in fact dating Justin Trudeau of Canada's Prime Minister, the whole thing. He's good looking, age appropriate for her. And so I saw this on TMZ and I said, I predict a Lifetime movie about a pop star and a political figure is in the works based on them. Kind of like what happened with the TV movie or whatever it was with Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce. I don't think this is as juicy of a pairing because I just don't think that she's as popular and people think she's kind of odd and that she's always like trying to get homes from old people that don't want to sell them, and like old nuns and old vets and whatever. I mean, if one time you tried to get a house from an old person that didn't want to sell, that's fine. But the fact that there were multiples anyway, they're a couple, they're dating, it's real, and good for her, you know? And then somebody wrote in the comments that his father, who is also a political figure in Canada, and I'm sorry I don't know all of Canadian history politics, that he had dated Kim Cattrall and other American entertaining stars. So that's kind of really juicy. I always thought that was interesting about JFK Jr., that at one time he dated Madonna and this actress Daryl Hannah, who was very popular in a great movie called Splash. And he wanted to be, according to books and things that I've read, he actually really was into acting and wanted to major in acting in college, but his mother was like, no, you're going to be a lawyer. And it took him 3 times to pass the bar. And it was, he liked that entertainment. And I always thought, oh, isn't that interesting? Because his dad, JFK, the president, dated Marilyn Monroe while he was married. He had affairs with Marilyn Monroe. That is a known big rumor. And then the brother dated her too. And then mysteriously she OD'd. Whatever. I'm just saying it's very interesting how history kind of like repeats itself with generations. So let's see how long they stay together, She likes being with famous people. She was with Orlando Bloom, so she's not looking for a normie. Okay. Let's see. Lori Loughlin, according to Page 6, had to quiz dancers at her husband's favorite strip club, Massimo's favorite strip club, in desperate attempt to save the marriage. I mean, how awful. How awful. I feel like these stories, now she wants out there. She wants these stories out there. She wants people to know what a nightmare he was. That's why she gave John Stamos, I'm sure, the go-ahead. I'm sure you just don't go on someone else's podcast and talk about your friend's horrible divorce and her horrible ex-husband unless she was like, go for it, John Stamos, spill the beans about what a horrible narcissistic dick he is. So now to add this, that he was also going to strip clubs, ew. So, yeah, that's out there. Okay, little update on our girl Wendy from Real Housewives of Potomac. This is Wendy and Happy Eddie, who are facing numerous charges for a fraud, lying about what was stolen in your house to get insurance money. And they did a huge investigation and they, arrested them both. According to TMZ, it says, according to court docs obtained by TMZ, Us Weekly, sorry. The Real Housewives of Potomac star wants all charges against her and husband Eddie dropped, arguing there are alleged defects in the charging papers and the search and seizure was unlawful. Well, yeah, what are you going to do? Unless you're going to just fold, you're going to have to try to say that the cops didn't do what was right, and they didn't collect the evidence right, and their rights were not protected, and they were targeted because of who they are, whatever. There's also rumors of, will she turn on her husband and say it was all him that made me do it? This is just so interesting. It's such a Teresa Giudice, talk about history repeating itself. And yeah, it's very hard for marriage. I just talked about Lori Loughlin and Massimo. They were married. They both were convicted of doing the college scandal. They stayed together, and then they did it. They both did their prison time, and now they're getting divorced. Same thing with Teresa and Joe Giudice. They were together. They both did their time, and then they got divorced. And so that is my prediction for these two. And whether they decide I'm going to take all the blame or not, I don't know many spouses that would be like, yeah, how about I just go to prison for 5 years and you go have fun shopping and being on Housewives and screwing other men? I don't know. I don't think there's that many selfless people, but who knows? And there's emails going back and forth. Why they were emailing each other, I don't know. Saying, Eddie going, how much more can we put on the insurance claim so we max out the 400 amount, whatever. Very interesting. Her co-star, who is one of the most beautiful women I think I've ever seen, her name is Stacey, and this is her second year on the show of Potomac. She is just stunning, and she was on Watch What Happens Live last night, and she said, well, Wendy is a good friend of mine, and when I saw her, she was very emotional, and I'm just going to be there for her, which a lot of housewives really like. A lot of fans like that she's being loyal to a friend, that she's not throwing her under the bus, and, she's being there for her. What the truth is, I don't know. Now, again, this is a kind of crime that I don't think necessarily makes people get so angry at the housewife, because they're like, yeah, it's insurance fraud. No children were hit in the road by you being drunk. Nobody was murdered. Yeah, you cheated on some money and you acted like an asshole that you're richer than you were. But unlike Jen Shah, who literally took money out of elderly people's savings and tricked them into thinking that they could have a business, that was very cruel. This is one of those where I feel like people are like, yeah, I could maybe forgive this dumb bitch. So anyway, now she was in hot water, this beautiful Stacey girl, because last year she announced she was going through a divorce with her husband, but she had this friend named TJ that she knew from the QVC hosting TV acting world. And he's her boyfriend. But even though he's 50, he's very Christian, and therefore they don't have sex. And it was very weird that he kept wanting to make sure that was out on the show. He then went out and said, she hired me to be her boyfriend, and I'm entitled to half of her salary. And the girls are saying they met some friend of TJ's who said, oh no, she had a contract with him that he was going to get half of her salary. Then on one of these bloggers, when we say Real Housewives bloggers, it is my now understanding it's mostly unanimous, anonymous Instagram accounts where the person isn't sharing their personal life, their face, or their name, but they get out information, and these accounts can be very popular, and I'm sure they're profitable for the person running them to an extent. So all of a sudden, one of those posted the alleged contract between Stacey and TJ. A lot of the comments were, I call bullshit. In it, it said that by him participating, that he would get half of her Real Housewives of Potomac salary for its entirety. I don't know who the fuck would ever write such a dumb thing. If you were going to have your housekeeper or your assistant appear on the show and you wanted to be classy about it, you might say, hey, every time we're filming, I'm going to give you an extra $500 just from me because you're agreeing to be on camera and whatever. I know that there's some housewives that have done that with people. Being that it's a boyfriend, that's interesting. And then that it was fake. They were never a couple. She said they were. She said we were, and I never agreed to pay him. Who knows? I don't know if he's really suing her. I'm not sure. But, it's interesting that someone's like, oh no, this is a fake contract. It's not real. Who would ever agree to pay this person for the rest of your life for as long as, and it wouldn't hold up. It was like a dumb piece of paper. Anyway, she since has gotten back with the old husband, even though they were divorced. And there you go. So that's kind of juicy. I just think she's stunning. Okay. Let's get into Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. This week, they premiered the first episode of the Real Housewives Wife Swap with Angie, who's the Greek girl. And people are really enjoying Wife Swap. If you never watched it in the past, it was a very popular show where they would just take, two women that ran their houses differently and swapped them. So one would be, run a cattle farm, and the other one would be a hippy dippy vegan feeding person. And then they would have to watch each other's kids for like a week. And it was pretty juicy back then. And there were some real disturbing things 15 years ago that they would show where people would be like, that's some horrible parenting. Where is that kid today? That's really fucked up. So anyway, when I was at Chelsea lately, I had a couple calls and I was being looked at to do Wife Swap. Can't remember if it was celebrity or just they were thinking about doing celebrity because I was like a partial celebrity. And I was like, oh my God, this would be so fun. But what would it mean is if I swapped with someone, they wanted that girl to also really have my life and go and be at Chelsea lately and write on the show and like appear on the show. So without even asking, I'm like, there's no way they're going to do that. And now I look back and I'm like, I should have asked because maybe they would have actually. They might have said okay to that. But anyway, the mistake I made was I didn't make my parenting like extreme enough. And that's what they want. They want either you to be the most OCD, strict mom or, very, very rich. In this case, the housewives are all appeared rich. And then the most where it would be the most awkward difference. And when I was being interviewed for it, I was always pretty moderate about being strict, they did their homework. They went to Catholic school, but it wasn't like I was like, you're going to mass every day at 6 a.m. Like if I wanted to do that, like I had to do that. Or I think they came to me thinking, oh, you know who was also up for it was Carney Wilson. Anyway, I know that they were thinking, that maybe because I'm a comedian stuff, I would be like a flippity dippity, I don't know, mom that like didn't give a shit and was drinking and had comedians smoking cigars in my house at night while my kids ran around, in their school uniform. I don't know what they thought, or they thought I was going to be super strict. But in doing it, and then afterwards I was like, okay, I told my agent, I go, if they're ever interested in me again, I know how to lie about it now. Well, you can't lie, So anyway, so that's what it is. And a lot of it is produced and a lot of it, they make sure that like these things happen. But I think it's a pretty enjoyable show. And supposedly now they are going to share the Wendy one. They just pushed it to the back of the 4 episodes. We'll also see Emily on there from Real Housewives of OC. Now, let's just talk about Real Housewives of OC. They're in Amsterdam. And listen, I know a lot of people like to smoke weed and eat weed gummies and do the cannabis thing and do the mushrooms and all of that and ayahuasca, whatever that is, where you go and drink some weird thing and like have a hallucination. Okay. That's not my jam. I like to just enjoy my cocktails, whatever. So they go to Amsterdam, which back in the day was like, oh my God, you got to go to Amsterdam because there's a red light district where, you can see a bunch of hookers in a window and you can also have weed when weed wasn't legal. So I don't know why they went now, but whatever. They go and they go to see the tulips or whatever. And they all are out, taking drugs. It's legal. It's fine. I just think it's kind of weird. Am I the only one that thinks it's weird that we're just watching housewives, like episodes of them just like constantly taking drugs? And I mean, I guess it's okay because in the past they just got them all so drunk before. And probably, with the Vanderpump kids, it's not about the pasta or whatever. We know from Jax now that he admits, he was using cocaine for 20 years. We know from other cast members that they would take Adderall so that they could drink and have fun and stay up while they filmed and, be alert and kind of remember what they said. But I don't know. Like, I'm just like, why is Gina saying, I'm sober and I like to hold, Shannon accountable for her drinking. Yeah, she still drinks and she's doing weed with all of you guys and magic mushrooms. And I don't know. I guess I'm just too much of a comedian to think like this isn't that funny. Like, it's like lazy. It's like, okay, so you're high. All right. I don't know. Like, why don't you just I guess they're just desperate for what to do with this show. Whatever. So they're there, and then we know next episode is the last episode, and that's when all the shit comes out about Gretchers. And Tamara has let the girls know that here are some screen grabs of other people's posts on Instagram or Twitter or whatever, in which it shows that her name is following it and liked it. And we're going to see how she explains it. We're going to see what happens in her defense at the reunion. And this is, a lesson to everybody. Like, watch out, watch out what you're doing on social media. But also these things can be doctored, and that is what they are claiming, that it wasn't what she did. So it's gonna get kind of weird and ugly, and we'll see. But, right now, these bloggers are now sharing all of it. Now, how did they get all of it, every single one? Well, what the housewives do is they collect the dirt on their castmate. I think some of them hire private detectives, like in Salt Lake City, and then they hold on to it. And then they have an anonymous account, and they DM one of these quote unquote bloggers, and they say, oh my God, look, my castmate was arrested 10 years ago for fraud, like with Bronwyn on Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. Do with it what you will. Or they say, please share this, because tomorrow we're going to a luncheon, and then I can show up and go, oh, did you see the press? It's not the press. It's not in TMZ. It's not in Page Six. It's with these bloggers. And then therefore, since it's out there and it's printed, the producers and editors can show it on the screen, and that's why they're talking about it. Also, they don't look like a horrible asshole that they found it, that they brought it up, and it's like their hands are clean because it's was sent to this person who then shared it. We know from Teresa of Real Housewives of New Jersey that she had a relationship with Melissa's old nose for years, allegedly, who then shared negative stuff about the castmates while they were filming. So there it is. That's what the show is. It's not as fun as it was. Shannon Bedore is constantly putting on Spanx and trying to dance and being all awkward. And I have pointed that out. Watch the early seasons. She was not this weird shenanigans. Shannon Bedore. And, but people like it. And maybe that's the only funny thing. And maybe you find her funnier when she's high on mushrooms too. So, they're just doing their best, all of them. And listen, I like watching it. I like talking about it. So who am I to bitch and complain when someone's not naturally funny, no matter how many classes they take at the Groundlings? Okay. Kim Zolciak's boyfriend is this guy, and it's all getting revealed. And because his wife is divorcing him, and she's doing a forensic accounting, she's trying to find out how many gifts he gave Kim Zolciak. His monthly income has come into play because they're in this, financial fight, and he makes $130,000 a month. So Thank you, Big Papa. Like, she found herself another Big Papa, but this Big Papa looks so much like Croy. It's kind of weird. He's like, you know, kind of like a strawberry blonde and about the same age and very interesting. But you know what? Good for her for, you know, I guess snagging a guy. Hopefully she wasn't the impetus for them getting divorced, but it might have definitely played a role. Definitely seems like it was happening before they were separated. And, you know, this way she won't have to borrow money from her daughters anymore or just take it and not give it back. So, you know, who knows? But like, you know, she needs an income, whether it comes from here or, I mean, she will always be welcome back on Real Housewives of Atlanta. So that's what she should do. This girl, Lily Allen, is a singer. And I saw this post. Woman who allegedly had an affair with Lily Allen's estranged husband, David Harbour, is revealed. And it's just this girl. And he's an actor on Stranger Things. And he was doing a movie and she was the costume designer. And by day 2, they were getting it on. Well, apparently Lily and her husband had an open marriage. And now she's writing a song about it. So now the costume designer is like, yeah, I'm the other woman, whatever, who cares? And then people are like, well, wait a minute. Why, you know, how do you cheat on each other when you have an open marriage? Well, I think anything like swingers or open marriage, there's like weird rules like I need to know, or I need to join in, or I need to approve her, or it can only last 3 times. I don't know what these people do with their weird open marriages. Why are you getting married at all? Like, why are you doing this? But now we know who she is and she's whatever. You know, some people are like, oh my God, why do guys always cheat with someone like less attractive than the actual wife? Why do they cheat down? Because they're cheaters and it's there and it's about their ego. So then we get to Jelly Roll. Jelly Roll is now a Slim Jim. You guys, I don't know if you know this, but I don't write these jokes, okay? They just come to me. Jelly Roll is really enjoying his GLP-1s, and he has dropped like 200 pounds. And he is always talking how in love he is with his wife, Bunnie, who has a very popular podcast. She's extremely attractive too. She was a former call girl, sex worker, whatever. And they met, and like a happy one, like a hooker with a cardigan, happy, like she talks about it. And they met, and I guess for a while they had an open marriage too. I wasn't aware, but whatever, maybe at this time they didn't, because he went on a podcast, not his wife's, and shared the worst time in his life was when he cheated on Bunnie and had an affair. And he said, I had an affair. So I don't think it was like a one time, like after a show while he was eating donuts, somebody came and like gave him a BJ. I don't think it was that. I think it was definitely more involved. But, you know, he's very Christian and everyone loves his story of, you know, being in prison and writing music and like all the shit that he went through. So he fell in love with Bunnie. They got married like right away. And I don't know when this was because they've been together a while now. He said in this interview, he said, well, you know, when I was doing cocaine, it was because I was hanging out with guys doing cocaine. When I was drinking too much, it's because I was hanging out with guys that were drinking too much. And when I was cheating, I was hanging out with guys that, you know, were comfortable cheating on their women or whatever. And I kept these guys around because I was proud to say, oh, this has been my boy for 15 years or whatever. I'm not going to dump him now that I'm rich and famous. And now he realizes, no, I don't want to be around with anybody that, you know, would be a bad influence on me. This is the thing about men, okay? What the fuck, all right? What are you talking? You're going to blame, you're like 45. You're going to blame your bad behavior on your friends. And, you know, I had to stay at the club for 4 hours after the golf round ended because the guys made me. They made me. What are you talking about? Like, you're old. Like, what? I don't know a woman Now, what's interesting is I've had friends that said that their husbands would be like, I don't like you hanging out with that girl because she's going through divorce or she's whatever, a little wild. And they're like, what the fuck are you talking about? Because this is the thing. We don't get influenced by our girlfriends in that way. When we're like mothers and in our 30s and 40s and beyond, if our friend is, getting some dick on the side, chances are she's not even telling us about it. Chances are she's sneaking around. And if she is, I'm not going to be like, oh my God, does he have a friend? Can I also fuck him? I've been dying to find a girlfriend who's cheating on her husband so we can just go and cheat together in Vegas. No, it doesn't happen. But these men, it's like the loyalty thing. So they're never going to dump their friends. And then they're also can then blame the friends for influencing them, doing things that they really didn't want to do. Well, if that's the case, then now as a spouse, now you do kind of need to analyze your husband's friends. Like, are they bad influence? Could they influence your 55-year-old husband to, drink a little too much? And you're like, can I talk to your friend's wife? We are not having this. We are having a parent-teacher conference. Like, what is going on? So, also I think it's always like, it was the worst time in my life. I'm sure I did not listen to the whole interview. I'm sure he always speaks so highly of her. Maybe she didn't care. Maybe she was accepting of it because they were in this open relationship, but it did bother him more than it bothered her. I don't know. They seem like they're super solid. Whatever weird relationship or different relationship someone has is their deal. But I don't know. I mean, I wonder when someone, is getting all skinny and cute too. Like, she was always the cute one. And he's getting cuter and cuter. And I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. But they're everyone's favorite, couple that came from the wrong side of the tracks and are now, probably close to being, definitely a few $100 million. So we'll see what happens. Also, Kim and Kanye's daughter, North, was having some fun with her friends and TikTok and all of that. And she put in these blue contacts and she has these like fun blue braid extensions. And she put in a grill and then she put in some face tattoos that she got from Jelly Roll. And she put them on her face and Kanye wasn't happy about it. He went on his platform or whatever and said like, Kim, why are you torturing me with this TikTok stuff? And Kim's like, leave me alone. Like, this is what she does. And I'm not that parent that's going to like not let her express herself. The tats weren't real. None of this was permanent, but it is a pretty scary, tough look. And she does have like the septum piercing. I don't know if that's real, but that's one piercing that if you do have, you take out, there's like no mark of it because it's like inside your nostrils. I always wondered about when someone had a piercing in their nose, if they took it out, would it just look like they had like one big giant blackhead pore? But I'm not someone who has piercings. So anyway, I think with Kim, she just had a birthday and she's dressing sexier than ever. That's what she likes. That's her vibe. I think she knows that if she was to try to tell her 12-year-old daughter what to wear, what not to wear, you can't put in blue hair extensions. You can't put blue eye contacts. First of all, they have all these makeup people there. They have a whole room dedicated to glam and like 10 people just waiting to do whatever you want. So if she's like, oh, I want to try little face tattoos. Sure, why not? I want to try a grill. Sure. I want to put blue hair on my head. No problem. I wanted you to do my makeup. I want you to put fake eyelashes. Like, they can do that. It's like, there's some houses have like a toy room. They've got a makeup room. That's what she's doing. And that's what she's defending herself on. The show now is out, the new episode, and Kim is finally opening up about what a fucking nightmare Kanye is, which we all knew. I said for years, could anything be worse than to have to co-parent with this asshole? Well, now, just like Lori Loughlin, she wants the world to know he's a fucking awful nightmare. He barely sees the kids. But she'll say my ex, like in an interview. She won't say his name. She's doing everything right. She's almost a lawyer. She still has to pass the bar. How this girl has time to do this. She is on the new show All's Fair, and in the Keeping Up show, she's crying about how like she doesn't get to see her kids as much, but she doesn't want to turn anything down. It's the same thing with Emily at Real Housewives of OC. She said, I just found out my son Luke can't read and he's 10. And people were like, what? And, I know there's more to it, and I do appreciate her being open. And part of her struggle is like she has to go on this Amsterdam trip and wear a dress with cutouts and not cover up her bruises and strut around and try to be funny and take shrooms or whatever. And so she can't help the little boy read. And some people would say, quit the show then. Yeah, easier said than done. This is her career too. And if she's only gone for 5 days, it's not going to make a difference in, if she stayed home every day with this child. We don't know. She's, sharing her journey. But, this is the thing. Some people, it's what works for you. But the argument is, well, some people do have to do a second shift to pay the mortgage or pay the rent. And these people don't. So, but then it's their identity in their life and they enjoy doing it. And this show called All's Fair with Ryan Murphy about an all-female law firm dealing with divorces sounds pretty fucking juicy. And the cast is ridiculous. Like it's Glenn Close and Naomi Watts and Niecy Nash and Sarah Paulson. And I think it's going to be a big hit. And, these opportunities just, and you want to move into a different direction. They come at one time. But there you go. That's what the show is. And they talk about selling the house, which is the last house I went to the Christmas party at. I used to go to the Christmas party. It's been 10 years since I've gone. And someone showed an old video of me doing an episode of the show in which I was like, isn't it interesting that Kim is living with you now when she was pregnant with, was she pregnant with North or Saint? I think she was pregnant with Saint. She was pregnant with Saint and they were redoing their house. And so Kanye, North, and Kim, pregnant Kim, were all living at that house. And they wanted to film something with Kim, Chris's girlfriends at the time. And I said, oh, isn't it interesting that like they were all ripping on Hidden Hills and not wanting to live here and screaming that like, oh, not ever wants to live in Hidden Hills, Mom, because Chloe and Lamar had bought a house in Tarzana, which is like 15 minutes from the Hidden Hills. And yeah, Heather was right. Everybody now lives in Hidden Hills. Kim bought another property just right next door to hers. And the article was like, why does Kim need another $7 million tear down the street? Because she can. Because she wants her kids to be able to live just like Chris did. Live in their own house, but close by. That is every parent's dream. It is genius. And from the moment I saw that was Chris's MO, let's get the kids, let's do this show together so I always get to see them. Let's get everybody living in the same area. It is genius. So the show is happening. Chris has a new face. She's is thin. People are mistaking her for Kim. And Chloe hasn't had sex in 3 years. So it's the show. People are talking about it again. So good for them. And then Kourtney Kardashian was like, so I'm doing a campaign for Lemmy vitamins. And I think I want an iconic person to talk about it who owns her sexuality. So I asked the iconic Julia Fox to be on it. And she's like, but I have to ask Kim because Julia Fox dated her ex, Kanye. But I feel like they never say his name now. But anyway, she's like, fine, who cares? People are like, this is so rude. I can't believe she'd ask Julia Fox. Oh, please. Kim could give a shit. Julia said they never even fucked. She said, like, she's already talked about how, like, he was weird and they never even had sex and whatever. So she's probably like, yeah, by having Julia on there, we have a fun storyline between, like, sisters fighting and it gets your promotion going. what do I care? Go for it. Go put weird Julia Fox in a tub of, Lemmy gummies. Nelly Furtado is stepping away from the stage for the foreseeable future. And people truly believe it's because she was so bullied online. She recently performed and she was a lot curvier. And the comments were just awful. And they think that that is why she's like, I'm never performing again. Fuck you people. Oh my God. This is why this shit is so sad. Why would you ever let these losers that would die to look like you, who are writing mean shit, get to you like this? I only can talk because at one time I let it get to me too. So now I really need to say, oh my God, what a bummer. She's absolutely stunning. I love her music. I hope this is just a little blip. And I hope when she comes back, she does some way to handle her social media where she doesn't have to see it, but that it still can benefit her music. People just need to go back to the olden days, like I said with Chris, where it's like you just go perform. Your PR person goes, oh, could you sign these few autographs? Oh, and here's 3 fan letters that came into the studio of how much they love you. And then you read those and you're like, I can go to sleep now. I had a great concert. And that's it. That's it. That's what people need to do. Meanwhile, this girl, Cheryl Burke, who her face is completely changed. I mean, she looks kind of like Kris Jenner in here. People are like, what is going on? She said, I've had nothing done. She looks completely different. Yes, she's older. I don't know if it's the bangs. I don't know if it's the plastic surgery. I don't know if it's a lot of weight loss. But she is coming back as a judge to Dancing with the Stars. She used to be one of the dancers. Now she's a judge, which is a great job for her. And maybe all the press she got about her weird, different face helped her get the job. Who knows? All press is good press. So one more thing I forgot to talk about was Bronwyn on Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. You guys, I have never seen a example of a real life couple that would make you want to be a gold digger less. Okay. Clearly we know she was a single mom. She married this guy who was rich, who was older, and she gets to wear all these weird outfits and live in Salt Lake City, which I don't think sounds that great. The best part about her life is that she gets to be on Real Housewives of Salt Lake City and have some fun because her husband is absolutely horrible. If you were ever thinking of going a sugar baby route, you need to watch this. If your daughter is thinking this is a cool thing and I just want to, marry an older guy and shop, do not. The saying is a woman who marries for money has never worked harder for that dollar or something like that. It is awful. He is the most crotchety thing. The most unfun person. Has he ever made someone laugh? Has he ever laughed? He absolutely hates her being on the show, but he's agreeing to do it. So she's like, hey, Todd, today we're going to meet at this ice cream shop. And of course she has to wear a weird outfit that's like ice cream inspired. It's like pink and like a Prada headband that's probably $400. And she gets her ice cream and she's like, so Todd, you know how much I love ice cream? And remember, don't eat my cherry because that's my favorite thing to eat. In the past, you've eaten it, and it is my favorite thing to have, and I like to have it at the end. So, Todd, you'd be very proud of me. I went to a luncheon, and I kept my composure with Lisa. And at that point, he grabbed her cherry. She wasn't even 2 bites in of her sundae, and he ate it. And she's like, I literally just said 30 seconds ago not to eat my cherry. And he goes, oh. Now, if he had gone, I know I was just fucking with you. Can we get 2 more cherries? Then I would be like, oh my God, Todd's kind of fun. No. I mean, I just read an article that said a woman decided to divorce her husband after 25 years because he ate the last piece of cake. I can relate to that too. I'm like, if I have half of a Chinese chicken salad saved for me and I come home and that's my lunch and Peter just opened the fridge and took it. It's happened in the past, but now in order to stay married, I make sure I say, hey, just want you to know that salad, that's my lunch. Don't fuck with it. don't take the little bit of salad dressing that I have left and dip a piece of bread in it. That's my salad dressing for my salad. I'm thinking about this Chinese chicken salad. I'm driving on the 101, ready to have that Chinese chicken salad. Don't you dare fucking take it. So I think a lot of people were like, whoa. And then Lisa Barlow says, I have nothing to do with this, nothing. But I find it very strange that Bronwyn was arrested and has like some fraud or some weird thing that's now been sealed. Did Todd, her husband, was he able to seal whatever this crime was? It's very convenient because she says it's been sealed and legally I can't talk about what happened, but it happened 10 years ago. We don't know if it was real identity theft, if it was a snafu, if it was a mistake, if it was a desperate single mom who hadn't met Todd yet and she did something. She worked at a bank. Did she do something wrong that was just because she didn't have the proper training? We don't know. But she has to go meet him in another fancy outfit. And he's like, and she's like, I know this is really bad because this is bad for you and your reputation, that this thing in my history has come out. And I'm so sorry, Todd, because I know it's very disturbing to you. And he's like, and everybody is just like, and then she has the mean mother. Like, I just want to see her run through the tulips. And yes, maybe take a mushroom and have some fun. I don't know. But watching her life is so depressing and sad of a housewife. There's nothing fun about it. She's surrounded by people that don't enjoy her, including her daughter, who I'm sure she loves, but the daughter doesn't enjoy her either. So there we go. Now for a very juicy topic that only my son can help explain. I'm sure many of you girls are like, what is this poker scandal? Is this an NBA gambling scandal? How are the two related? What is going on? And I'm here with Drake, who's familiar with sports, gambling, and dumb men. Drake, What is this deal? How are these people in trouble? Explain the basketball part first.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me on your show. Okay.
This is my son, Drake, everyone. And he's wearing the newest Juicy Scoop hat.
That's right.
That you can get.
Hopefully we will have these in Vegas.
Yes.
To give out to people, but
yes.
Okay, yes. So to explain the gambling thing, what's your question basically?
What did the person do wrong that was an NBA player that is so horrible of a scandal?
All right. Well, first of all, there's like about 30 people that were arrested, but the NBA players, so there's 2 NBA players. And one currently is playing for the Hornets, but right now he's not. They're taking a break because they're investigating this. And the other guy only played for 1 year, and he didn't make very much money for NBA standards. I think it was like $2.5 million.
Okay.
The other guy that's playing is making like $25 million a year about.
And that's why this is so insane, because that one is the one that lied and fucked up the game by saying, oh, coach, take me out. I hurt my ankle. But
yeah,
he really
so that's,
didn't.
I think that was like in 2023. He basically texted his friends and said, he said, like, I'm bet all my unders because I'm going to be out of the game early.
And that means you're not just betting that the Hornets are going to beat the Lakers. You're saying, I think the score is going to be in this range, and you get more, like the bet is sweeter because you got the score closer to what it was, correct?
No, the bet, no, basic. No. So what happened is basically, also, it's like very stupid because they only won around, or they bet like $200,000, but this guy makes $250,000 a game, and he's risking all of that just to basically to help his friends out.
So that's the other thing, as you know, men. What I've learned from today's episode are extremely more loyal and better friends to their male friends than women. And that's the biggest difference, because there's no way in fucking hell a woman would do this for her dumb friend. Like once she got rich, tried to do something criminal so that her friend could enjoy some extra cash. Like men do this. Like they bring their boys around, they hire them, they let them come around and cheat around them and do drugs, whatever. Women are like, fuck that bitch. I want nothing to do with her, and I'm going to ruin her life while we are on Housewives together. So as lovely as a strong male friendship is a better bond than sometimes a female friendship, when you're an idiot, you're an idiot. Correct?
Yeah. So basically, like, so there's the arrest happened because there's the sports betting stuff, but also there's poker stuff. And the poker stuff is this NBA coach mainly. He was hosting these poker games, and they have these things called sharks and whales. And a shark player is basically a professional poker player. And a whale would be like an NBA player that's not very good at poker, but he has a lot of money to lose. So they would tell the sharks, hey, we got a couple whales coming to this game. Why don't you come play in it? And then they would come play in it. But what was happening at the poker games is that it was basically a rigged game. So, you know, the decks were like stacked against them.
Stacked against the dumb whales?
No, against the sharks. So the whales were in on it. So they weren't even really gambling.
Oh.
And it would basically be like they'd invite one or two people, and then everyone else in there was in on it. So they all knew they were all going to split the profit. But they had shuffling machines and they had card readers, so they were able to see their cards. And in poker, it doesn't even matter how good or bad you are. If you could see someone else's cards, you're basically going to guaranteed win.
I have a question. So this is like at someone's house. So is it illegal to have a poker party where money is done? Is that illegal? Does it have to be at a casino? So it's legal.
No, it's not illegal. Where it becomes illegal is where they do this thing called a rake. So they take a little bit of money from the pot and they basically have that as profit. But, you know, you could have poker games. That's not illegal. Yeah.
So this is just a scandal then?
Yeah.
The poker part is just a scandal. No one's going to prison for the poker part.
No, they are, because they stole like basically $7 million over like 5 years.
So who's investigating it? The poker police?
No, like the FBI.
Oh.
Like, yeah. It's that one guy that's
but then so someone that went, they could be implicated and now they have to defend themselves, and we're like, I was just invited.
They already like arrested all these people that they know were involved in it. So like some people provided the cheating devices. Some people were just there to make the money. So
when is this Netflix doc going to happen, do you think?
I don't think it'll ever happen. It's not
juicy enough.
Correct. Yeah. Like
nobody died.
Yeah. And, you know, I think people like they try to do these basically cheating on gambling all the time. You know, this isn't the first time that NBA players have been caught for this. This has been happening for 20 years since sports betting started.
And you were saying the difference with the Dodger player, what's his name?
Shohei Ohtani.
Yeah, is that his thing was that his best friend / interpreter was betting with money that was stolen from him, but none of those bets were on baseball or any games that he was playing in.
Yeah, so, you know, at least with Shohei, like, yeah, we're supposed to think that he wasn't betting, but he probably was. Because, I mean, there's like millions of dollars on it. But the thing is with him is at least he was not betting like against himself, where you can really, you know, influence the decision of how the outcome is. He was betting on like NBA or WNBA or soccer games, ping pong.
And he was making the bets.
No, technically the interpreter was making the bets.
And the interpreter said, I was just doing it for myself, stealing money from him. He wasn't making any bets. And people don't totally believe that, right?
Well, yeah, because if they said Shohei did it, he wouldn't be allowed to play.
Right. And he is a really good player. So we don't want that to happen in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And then also, to make it all about Real Housewives of OC, this girl, Jen, is engaged to a guy named Ryan. And Ryan, one of Ryan's very dear friends, was the booker of the interpreter.
Yeah.
And that guy is going away for a couple years now. And he is like an OC dad of 5 with a pretty wife. And he does all these podcasts, and he's like an inspirational speaker and, a life coach. He can life coach you from prison. Why? Okay, so is it illegal to be a booker? I'm so confused. Is it illegal to be...
Yes, it is. Because you're basically like acting like a casino.
Okay. And so anyway, Ryan was just his friend. And Ryan and Jen, they love to go to the Cayman Islands a lot. And so it was from there that people thought maybe there was something more connection going on between the booker and Ryan. But it appears nothing was. They just like going to the Cayman Islands and wearing bikinis.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what goes on the Cayman Islands, but I would assume they're just on vacation.
Right.
Yeah.
But who knows? So, well, thank you for explaining that scandal. And yeah, I think the closest thing I could say this to be, if we're going to compare it to women, is when someone's having like a Botox party back in the day. And they would bring some unlicensed person to like fill your ass or your face. And then that person was sick and maybe they were scraping off the top. And so like I'm having a Botox party and everybody comes and they pay $500 for the Botox and I get $100 off of each person. And this chick doesn't know what she's doing. And then that's what it's like.
I don't know anything about that.
Anyway, Drake, thank you for explaining another weird thing I didn't understand, but that had juicy elements. So this was, now you can talk about it. Now you can understand it. Now you can explain it to your husband if for some reason he doesn't understand. Oh, wait. I have to tell you. Well, I'll tell you. We'll save it for the next show. Okay. Everybody remember, you go to heathermcdonald.net. Get those last few tickets in Vegas. Make sure you join my Patreon because there's so much extra juice on there. And of course, tomorrow will be a new episode of Juicy Crimes. Please subscribe to Juicy Crimes on YouTube and wherever you listen to podcasts. There is a link below here where you can subscribe to that one. If you haven't left a review for Juicy Scoop or Juicy Crimes, please do. That also helps. And it's a great episode tomorrow with my sister, Shannon McDonald Goldstein, about a murder in Palm Springs. Thank you.